if you're a good putter, turn the video off
Yeah.
and keep doing what you're doing.
So I'm here with my friend Kevin. We're talking about all the things you can do at home putting. So it's really easy to waste time putting. I know Kevin and I see that all the time. So here's an effective use of your time. So Kevin, you've got a video here, I think, which really starts the process of what's important when you putt.
Yeah, and one thing that I see, Nick, is when people putt, they're always working on their path.
Yeah.
As you see boards and everything set up for path, and everybody's always asking, hey, how's my path look?
Who cares?
Path really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I brought a video here, and it is a putter that is 0.0 degree open or closed face. Face is dead square.
Yep.
The path is 6 degrees across. It's
So
on a 2.5 degree up angle.
You can really see the path on this one is moving to the left a lot, and a 0 club face.
And where's the ball go?
It's going to go right in the hole, I guess.
Ball goes
I
right in
haven't
the
seen it
middle.
yet.
And I've done this several times on different surfaces, different balls. Ball goes in, and just so people have an idea of what a 6 degree path actually is, I want to show
Okay.
from the top. This is what 6 degrees outside in looks like with that ruler there. You can see that is significantly across.
Yeah, that's a massive left or right in this case, or across the ball swing direction, really.
Yeah.
So, and that putt still goes in. We kind of half joke about path doesn't matter. It does, because it does make the face angle a little bit easier to align most of the time. But if you're practicing, to Kevin's point, how to make sure your putter path is either straight back or on this perfect little arc, whichever one you're working on, that's probably not the most effective use of time. Is that fair?
It's totally fair.
Okay, so what should we do instead?
One of the things that I like to see is to start people on a ruler, or this putting sword is fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you roll the ball down the line?
I'm going to find out.
So
We've got this for every lesson that we do at GOLFTEC. These are in every location, and it's a cool way to practice, because if you can keep the ball from rolling on or from rolling off this putting sword one way or the other, then you're going to likely have a straight enough line to make an 8-footer, which is really what is important. So rolling putts off of this and recognizing a pattern is super critical. So it's nothing more complicated than you could use a metal ruler or a yardstick, and you roll some putts. I just barely slid that one off the left side of the ruler, and it misses to the left. That'd be a really good way to do it. Now, if you can't get into GOLFTEC, or you don't have this putting sword that we use for my line golf, what do you think people should do?
Well, what I do is, if they can't roll the ball down the ruler or down the sword, I put a dot here. I've got 2 dots here. Why don't you start right here? We're going to put the ball on the first dot. And I need you to identify which side you miss it on. So I want the people to hit 2 or 3 putts, and can they roll the ball over that dot, which is 3 feet in front of them?
Okay.
It's right down the target line.
Yeah. So it's really simulating the same thing as the sword. I think this is a great way to do it at home. 3-foot dot right in front of you. I might have just clipped the left edge. So I'll roll a few more down there. Now, I would suggest that one's right over the top. That one would have gone in. So I'd say if you can do this 8, 9 out of 10 times, you're probably doing pretty good with this skill.
Totally
is that
agree.
fair?
There
Yeah.
you need to move on to something else. Don't waste time trying to, for that 5% of the times that you miss. If you're significantly missing consistently left or right, that's when it's time to do some work.
Okay. And this feels so remedial, but I think this is the root of how you should be rolling putts at home if you're on a carpet or on your floor. Like, this is almost the most important skill to get right.
It is the most important skill to get right, because if you can't start the ball down your line, you've got no chance to. It doesn't matter if you're a good green reader, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter if your path is really good.
Doesn't matter if you have great touch and feel. You're still not going to make putts.
Yeah, that's great. No,
so this is where I start every one of my students, and even the high level, they do an exercise like this every day.
Sure. So let's say I do this quite a bit, and I can recognize that I miss to the left most often.
So if you're a right-handed golfer and you miss to the left, there's a couple things I want you to try.
Okay, what do you got? I'm ready.
One of the first things I want to do is I want to take your trail elbow, which would be your right arm. I'd like to make sure that your right elbow is down a little bit, where it's more down into just below your rib cage, above the pelvis.
Okay.
But as you do that, I don't want your lead side to drop down with it. I want
Okay.
the lead side to stay up, the trail side to drop down. That's one of the first places I'd like to try you. This is going to get you to tilt just a little bit to the right.
Right. And I can feel that as you started to do that. I think a really good way to view it, even from this view that you're looking at me, when you look between my forearms, you might even see a little bit of a space between the top of my right and the bottom of my left. Those are easy ways to aim the face and your swing direction.
That's correct.
More in to out, which helps you push. Yeah. So I can see that one for sure. So instead of whatever I do normally, just turning my right elbow inward, closer to my belt, and if anything, maybe rotating my shoulder outward some.
Well, what I would do, first of all, I would try move one thing at a time.
One at a time.
I would try this. Then if you still were missing a little left, then we would start raising the lead side.
You're so patient, Kevin. I have ADD. I can't do just one thing at a time. But I like your style. So just do one. Turn your elbow in. See what your new pattern is. Maybe hit another 5 to 10.
5 to 10 putts.
Change.
Then if it's less left, but it's still left to where it has been, then you would come in with your lead side and raise that up.
Start internally rotating your shoulder.
Correct.
To help you point your elbow outward, for sure. And that's a good skill for anybody, even like we talk about that a ton, Kevin, on people who have a swing direction that's too far to the left and the face open to the path on a full swing shot. Turning your elbow to face the target is a good way to set up those parameters more to the right or more close to the target too. So I'll try your little tip here and just turn my elbow a little bit more, and that should add some bias to the right. Now some of that's just me making sure I don't miss it to the right, but I can totally see how that would work. So how about to the left? Any advice to the right? So if I miss all of my putts to the right.
You miss all the putts to the right. One of the first things I would do would tell a right-handed golfer, let's move up a little bit.
Okay, so closer to the
To
ball.
move a little closer to the ball.
Okay. And what effectively is that helping me do then?
Most of the time, if a right-hander's missing them significantly to the right, they're too far from the ball, so they're seeing their target right of where it actually is.
Yeah, I can see that. And we've done so many aim tests, just a test where people actually set up at address anyway, and you know this too. I would say I'm going to go somewhere between 80 and 90% of people who aren't good at putters aim to the right or aim away from whichever side they stand, right for a right-handed player, left for the lefty. And a lot of that is standing too far from the ball, or even any distance from the ball. You still have two eyes. You have to turn your head a little bit to look at the hole. It's very difficult not to aim yourself to the right.
It is.
So for most of those people, just getting closer is good advice.
I like to get them a little closer. That'll be the very first thing I would try. And then the second thing, if they're still missing it to the right, I'd like to see them lean, get their nose a little more over their front foot.
Okay, so a little bit more. Are you talking about moving the center of your sternum forward, or putting more weight on your front foot?
Moving your center of sternum forward and putting a little more weight on your front side.
Okay.
I've got a force plate underneath my platform, and I found that the tour players were 55-45 left.
Yeah, that's a good tidbit. You get a bunch of high handicap players and tour players come to see, but the worst putters are definitely have their shoulders sway or the center of their sternum the furthest away from the ball, for sure, and the hole.
Well, they've been told to hit up on it. All of a sudden they heard they hit up, so they get back and they swing up.
Well, help me on that one then. So you're suggesting move your sternum a little more towards the target, a little more leftward tilt of your shoulders. Should I be hitting down?
For somebody that's missing to the right.
For someone who's missing to the right. That's good. That's a good summary of that. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
Just the one missing to the right. Okay, so if you miss to the right, level out your shoulder, tilt. So
level out your spine, tilt.
More level, and to do that, just moving your sternum towards the target's good advice.
Try with those two things first.
Okay.
That's things that people can do at home without another pair of eyes looking at them.
Exactly, which is the point. And then repeat the pattern of hit 5 to 10 putts and see what your new distribution looks like.
And then if you start missing left, then you start backing off of your spine tilt
Sure. So at that point in time, the ball becomes your coach.
That's
Whatever,
right.
Whatever the ball's doing should tell you how to problem
And that's one thing,
solve
part of when I'm coaching my students, part of my job is to teach them to coach themselves.
Right, right.
I want
That's
to
what
get
good
them
teachers
where they
do.
don't have to come to me every time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want a professional piece of advice, then someone who gives thousands of putting lessons every year and has helped dozens of tour players, that's what you go see then. But there's nothing wrong with trying to figure this out on your own.
No.
But when you get lost, that's when you need someone who's a professional, does this for a living to help you out. Okay, so we got miss to the left, miss to the right. Make sure you find your patterns. Don't just tinker. That's like the dumbest thing I see amateurs do, right? I'm just going to try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try this. And there's no system. There's no thought behind it.
And they try after
Swing
one or
it.
two putts.
Yeah, that's terrible. Find some patterns like we're describing here. So the next one is impact location. Now, I threw some rubber bands on here. You probably have been noticing it looks a little ridiculous when I'm putting. I'm making sure I don't hit these rubber bands, but that's the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way I like to start that is to take a golf ball,
This one.
And you want to start it first at the width of the golf ball. Then after 8 to 10 putts, when you're hitting 90% of them, then you'll take the rubber bands and move them in until you start missing, and then that's where you practice.
Right. That makes a ton of sense. This is the, when you do watch good players putt, like our friend Brad Faxon, you ever grab his putter when you're with him, and it's got just a wear spot on it, and it's a putter, and it's in the same spot. He chooses high toe mainly for his strike location.
And that's one thing that I'd like to touch on. So many people think you have to hit it in the center.
Yeah, not true.
I've had over 52 tour players come through my studio, and I've face taped everything, and very few of them were in the center, but they had their spot where they hit the golf ball.
Now, I always see it either high toe, high center, or high heel. Is that primarily the pattern you see, or did you see some low?
Primarily, but I've seen low heel.
Okay, low heel.
I've seen some really good putters that were actually low heel.
All right, all right. So if you're getting Kevin's point here, it's finding the same spot is really good.
That's the key point.
And if you're bad, start with the middle. If you're good, that's one piece we haven't really gotten to. If you're good, you don't want to play around or mess around with much of anything that isn't really important.
If you're a good putter, turn the video off
Yeah,
and keep doing what you're doing.
yes. We're speaking mainly to those who are struggling or want to practice something for sure. So that impact location, I think we're using the width of the ball as your guide. You can probably hit 10 putts and never hit these rubber bands. At that point, squeeze them both in just a little bit.
Squeeze them both in a little bit.
Do 10 more, keep going, looking for patterns, not the one-off problems.
correct.
Okay. I think that's a great way to practice. And then you've got one for tempo that you like to use.
Yes. For tempo.
Can I do I'll be the dummy again here. You do the talking.
For tempo, I actually got this from Lauren Roberts.
Okay.
He said for tempo, one of his favorite drills that he ever did was he took a quarter, put it in the back of his putter.
Yeah. Show these guys what that looks like there.
And your putter has to have a deep pocket, one that the quarter will fit in. And you want to hit a putt of about 10 feet, and you should be able to keep the quarter in the back of your putter. If it falls out, it's okay if it falls out post-impact on the forward side if you have a longer stroke. Now that's where you don't want it to fall off, is in transition.
Yeah, so that one fell off maybe even before I got there. And my stroke is probably a little faster and shorter
And that's
than
one of the
most.
things that I see more is people over-accelerating the putter instead of decelerating the putter. They've been told, Nick, by their buddies to miss a putt, first thing to say, you decelled.
That's the worst.
And it's really hard to think about it.
Worst
If you
putting
think about it
advice.
from a physics standpoint, it's really hard to decelerate the putter because gravity's taking the putter to the ball. We have to supply energy to slow it down.
Yeah, you're pushing on this thing as it is, so that
That's
would
right.
be tough to do. All right, I'll try to slow down the
No,
backstroke.
no, that's the problem. Don't slow down the backstroke. Pick up the pace in the backstroke, so then the backswing and downswing are more even, like
Gotcha.
that.
All right.
See,
Hey,
the
that
problem
worked. Do
is-
you see it stayed on there?
That's right. The problem, people go back slow. They think it's going to be, they go slow, and then to create the speed to get there, they have to accelerate.
Oh yeah, and that's the worst type of
and-
pattern you'd want to have for
Correct, because that
acceleration.
gets the face closing too much.
Yeah, I see it two ways, and the worst putters I see have the shortest backstroke, fastest tempo, longest follow through. And then that one is, that is definitely the one. And then the number 2 worst pattern would be just the longest, slowest backswing and trying not to speed the putter head up coming through the ball. That's a tough way to do it too. And we talked about PGA Tour players too, that accelerating through the ball is good, but trying to go too fast is really bad.
Yeah.
And I can see how this is severely helpful for that.
That's one of my favorite tempo drills right there.
So we've got the practice your start line, the path like the video you saw. While that does matter some, it's not the piece you should be practicing at home if you're just looking for get the most bang out of your buck that way. I like the dots where you've got these 3 feet apart. That's really cool. The miss left or right pattern, if someone wants to hear your education about how to miss more right or left, you're going to have to review the video again. And then the impact location. I think that's super cool. Practice your tempo with a quarter in the back of your putter. And those are really good ways that you can practice at home. Sound about right?
Yeah.
All right, that was easy, Kevin. Thanks.